What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best builds in Diablo 4 Season 9. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skills and upgrades should you focus on, then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for the end game. And then finally we will go over the skill tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what aspects, runes, boss powers and the gems should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides Diablo 4 services like cheap gold with fast delivery and pro carry runs, as well as unique and legendary items. They also have more than 17,000 comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. So moving over to the first one, which is the Whirlwind Barbarian build. This is a fast and aggressive melee setup that focuses on the Whirlwind skill, allowing you to spin around rapidly, dealing continuous damage to all nearby enemies. Gameplay revolves around maintaining constant mobility and using spin to win, to clear large groups of enemies while generating fury, to fill up your attacks. The build focuses on stacking physical damage, attack speed and fury generation to keep the party spinning. So let's take a look at the skills. Whirlwind is your main damage dealer. You will spin through the enemies, dealing continuous AoE while moving. It scales very well with the fury spent and synergizes with the bleed and berserking. Then also we have lunging strike, which is your basic skill. Use it to close the gaps and generate fury when you're low. Then next we have rallying cry, that gives you movement speed and a huge boost to a fury generation. This skill is essential for keeping Whirlwind going 24/7. Then next we have challenging shout. This skill offers a massive damage reduction and a taunt. You'll need this for survival in the endgame content. Then also we got the Warcry, which gives a flat damage boost and activates the berserking when upgraded, which is a key synergy for this build. And lastly we got the Rout of the Berserker, aka the ultimate, that grants berserking and mobility, so use it during big pulls or boss phases for burst damage. Next we have the best aspects and uniques, and some of my favorite choices is the aspect of the Dire Whirlwind, so crits increase your Whirlwind crit chance and make the spin more deadly over time. Then also we're using the aspect of the Limitless Rage. More fury spent means more damage, and this is great for long spins. Then next we also have the aspect of the Echoing Fury. Each active shout will give you a fury and is essential for sustain. And lastly we have aspect of the Berserker Ripping. This bleeds enemies when you're berserking. It's perfect for synergies with passive bleed bonuses. And then for uniques we have the Ramaladin's Magnum Opus. This converts the fury spent into raw damage. It is a core weapon for high-end builds. Or then also we could use the Rage of the Harrogath. And now it makes that bleed crits explode and reduce cooldowns, which makes your build feel more explosive and fast-paced. Then for weapon active runes we're using the Moni and the Tech. Moni, the rune of the ritual, is the best for single target damage, especially for boss fights or elite hunting. It encourages isolating enemies to gain a flat damage boost, and works great with a high burst or assassin style builds, or when kiting or pulling enemies apart. While then the Tech, aka the rune of invocation, is the best for elemental builds, with consistent skill usage. This rune will act as a trigger for the secondary effects from the linked support runes. It is a core to many synergetic rune combinations, aka the main part of the custom elemental trigger setups. Next up we have boss powers, and we are going with the Wandering Dead's Chest Beam. It is a high damage telegraph attack. It's often used to mid to late phases, causing wide area and punishment immobility. Then also we got the Blackmailer Sabotage, that forces players to adapt position quickly. This can synergize with the Aerial Denial, making movement-based builds safer. Then also we got the Flash Reaper's Distribution. This one punishes ability-dependent builds, especially those relying on shouts or barriers. It is ideal for counter-defensive stacking or the cooldown heavy rotations. And lastly we have the Cinnaret's Flames, which creates aerial denial zones that deal burning damage over time. Players must manage space carefully to avoid stacking dot effects. And if you're interested in the rest of the details like the gems, Paragon board, skill tree, mercenary and etc, then check the description for this build's website link. And now finally we have our rotation, so we want to start by using the Rallying Cry and the War Cry to boost fury and the damage. Then use the Challenging Shout if you need defense, then pop the Rout of the Berserker for burst and berserking. If fury is low, then use the Lunging Strike once or twice, and lastly just hold down the Whirlwind and spin to win, to destroy enemies, and that's about it. Next up we have the Dance of Knives Rogue build. This is a fast-paced AoE focused setup, centered around a skill that rapidly throws multiple blades in all directions, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Our gameplay revolves around maintaining constant offensive pressure with high mobility and using dash or the smoke grenade to reposition and stay out of danger. You will enhance the damage of each thrown knife by stacking critical strikes and attack speed. We are using the Dance of Knife as our core and channeling skill that unleashes auto-targeting knives while moving. It has high mobility and AoE damage that make it ideal for clearing content efficiently. Then second we got the Concealment, which grants stealth and guarantees critical strikes. When used with the Sabotering Concealment, it's essential for snapshotting buffs before channeling the Dance of Knives. Then also we got the Dark Shroud. This provides damage reduction and movement speed bonuses. It also enhances survivability and mobility during combat. Then also we got a Shadow Clone, which summons a clone that mimics your attacks, and effectively doubling your damage output during its duration. Next we got Cold Imbuement. This adds cold damage to attacks, enabling crowd control through the chilling and the freezing effects. It synergizes well with the other damage multipliers. And finally we got a Shadow Imbuement. This one infuses attacks with a shadow damage, causing enemies to explode on death. It's excellent for clearing groups of enemies in split seconds. Next up we have the best aspects and uniques, and some of my favorite choices is the aspect of the star shards. So now Dance of Knives has a chance to shatter into additional shards, which increases AoE damage. Then also we have the aspect of synergy. Now by using agility skills, that will reduce the cooldown of the Saboteur Fuge skills, and vice versa, by enhancing skill rotation efficiency. Then also we're using the aspect of the Stolen Vigor. While at maximum momentum stacks, the Cutthroat skill will deal increased damage and grant unstoppable periodically. Then also we're using the Cold Clip aspect. Now basic skills are always cold imbued, increasing damage against chilled or frozen enemies. And lastly we got the Frostbitten aspect. This makes that the enemies hit by the grenade skills have a chance to be frozen, and you deal increased critical strike damage against frozen or stunned enemies. And then for unique, some good choices are the Asheros Kanyar, which boosts attack speed and grants ranks to weapon mastery by enhancing overall damage output. Or perhaps we go with the Fist of the Fate, that provides a significant damage increase and amplifies random crowd control effects, which helps a lot in the boss stagger phases. Then for weapon active runes we're using the Back with the Jaw, and for armor we got the Neo with the Tool. And for weapon they're perfect because they upgrade burst damage, so when you have high primary resource and want to unleash massive damage with a non-basic skills, then this is amazing. It works great in setups that focus on big resource heavy abilities and high damage spikes, and then the Jaw adds synergy and the versatility to your skills, especially in builds that rely on elemental damage or the debuffs. It's perfect for multi-elemental setups, or those needing to amplify damage over time. Next up we have boss powers, and we are going with the Wandering Death Chest Beam. This is good for high damage output, making it lethal if you stay in the beam's path. However, keep in mind that it requires quick movement to avoid or interrupt. Then next we went with the Flesh Reaper's Distribution. This disables key abilities, especially devastating for builds that rely on cooldowns or defensive skills. It forces you to adapt and reposition quickly, to avoid being caught. Next we got the Beastmaster's Training, which is meant for extra enemies in the fight that increase pressure and force you to manage multiple threats at once. Companions will often have their own dangerous abilities, so this will help you with creating distractions and additional damage source. And lastly we are using the Sinnarat's Flame. This creates persistent fire zones that force you to constantly move or risk being burned to death. It adds heavy dot damage, making it staying in the wrong spot quite costly. And if you're interested in the rest of the details like gems, paragon board, skill tree, mercenary and etc, then check the description for this build's website link. And then finally we have a rotation. So start with Concealment to enter stealth and guarantee crits. Then use the Shadow Clone to double your damage. Then next apply Cold or the Shadow Imbuement for the extra damage effects. Then channel the Dance of Knives while moving through the enemies, and then also recast the Concealment when it's off cooldown for another round of crits. And from here just keep on using the Shadow Clone for maximum damage, and finally use the Dark Shroud if you need extra defensives or mobility. And that's about it. And now finally we got the Quill Volley Spiritborn build, which revolves around using a skill that launches a barrage of quills to deal very high range damage to the enemies. Our gameplay is focused on positioning and maintaining distance, firing quills while relying on the Spiritborn enhancements to boost damage and survivability. You will use the shape shifting to stay agile, often switching into the werewolf for faster attacks and mobility, or the werebear for tanking or controlling enemies. The build emphasizes on sustained range damage, allowing you to unleash powerful quill attacks, while staying protected with defensive spirit buffs. So let's take a look at the skills. The Quill Volley is the core skill of our build. It fires a barrage of projectiles that deal significant damage over time. Next we have the Spirit Strike, which generates spirits and boosts the effectiveness of the Quill Volley. This is essential for generating resources and dealing bonus damage in the bursts. Next up we also got the Grave Invasion. This summons a spirit to deal damage and acts as a distraction, allowing you to deal damage while the enemies are not paying attention. Next up we are using the Rampant Growth. This increases spirit regeneration and helps keep the Quill Volley active without running out of resources. And lastly we got the Fury of the Wild. This increases damage and allows you to transform your basic attack into a higher output projectile for increased damage. Next up we got the best aspects and uniques, and some of my favorite choices is the aspect of the Quill's Fury. This increases damage output and attack speed of the Quill Volley. It's also ideal for boosting burst potential and AoE clearing. Next we got the aspects of the Spirit's Resurgence. This makes our spirit regeneration now getting increased when hitting enemies with the Quill Volley. It provides better sustain, allowing you to keep up constant damage output. Then also we got the aspect of the Rapid Recovery, which reduces cooldowns of the spirit-based skills, allowing for more frequent use of the spirit-heavy abilities. And then for uniques we are using the Spiritborn Talisman. This increases spirit efficiency, making your spirit pool last longer and enabling longer periods of the Quill Volley. Or then second we also got the Quill's Weaver Vestman, which increases the effectiveness and the damage scaling of the Quill Volley by significantly boosting your overall damage output. Then for weapon active runes we're using the Pack with the Zen, while for the armor we got the Tam with the Q. We went with these runes of the invocation because they add summon spirit effects that trigger additional damage or debuffs on the enemies, while also they boost overall damage output and helps maintain control over the enemies while you deal with them. And then our Rune of Ritual is ideal for burst damage builds that focus on spending a full resource bar on one big attack. They synergize well with the cooldown heavy impact abilities like the Quill Volley or the Dance of Knives, and it's best when paired with effects that boost resource generation or the refund resource. Next up we have the boss powers, and we are going with the Avarasi's Explosive Ore. This one can zone out areas and punish stationary players. It requires quick movement and awareness dodge delayed explosions. Then also the Lilith's Wind of Hate. This deals consistent AoE damage and especially dangerous in confined spaces. Players must keep moving and avoid clustering. Then also we got the Urivar Sloped Bombs, which are predictable but deadly, that cover large zones and force repositioning. A good mobility is key to avoiding chain hits. And finally we got the Cinerat's Flames. This creates aerial denial, punishing players who stay in one spot. It encourages constant repositioning to avoid being burned down. And if you're interested in the rest of the details like gems, paragon board, skill tree, mercenary and etc, then check the description for this build's website link. And now finally we have our rotation, so we want to start with the Rampant Growth to boost Spirit Regen, then use the Grave Invasion to summon and distract enemies. Next cast the Spirit Strike to generate spirit and the soften targets, then activate the Quill Volley and spray enemies with projectiles. Then afterwards recast the Spirit Strike to refill spirit and keep pressure, then rotate back to the Grave Invasion and the Rampant Growth as the cooldown resets, and keep maintaining mobility and repeat cycle all over again. This loop will keep your spirit flowing and the Quill Volley firing 24/7.